Hi, and welcome to Good Cereal. My name is Vivi. Thank you for coming. So today I'm going to be doing my introduction to Asian dramas. I mentioned it briefly in my previous video that I love watching Asian dramas. I've been watching them for 15 years since I was 11. I am now 26 years old. So let's get started. So Asian dramas are basically similar to like soap operas or telenovelas, but they're for Asian countries. So the most predominant or more popular one country that has Asian dramas absolutely has to be Korean. Korean dramas are so popular. They're called K-dramas. They are huge, just as big as you can think, especially because they have a lot in the background. Sometimes they have not in the background, but sometimes some of the actors can be K-pop stars, and you know K-pop is such a huge deal right now. Everyone loves K-pop, so sometimes when they have like K-pop stars in those dramas, you best believe everybody's watching those. A lot of times they have really good music or soundtracks for those dramas because of everything. They've definitely been doing that the longest internationally, so they're usually really easy to get access in your language. I personally like to use the website viki.com. Before, we used to have Drama Fever, but they went out of business. Now even Netflix is on it. Netflix is now producing their own original Korean dramas, and they're using like real big Korean stars, which is crazy. I know there was one with like Park Shin-hye and Whoopi? Apologies, I'm saying his name wrong, but it's crazy to think that now Netflix is even doing its own original content on it, but really exciting. So yeah, they're predominant. I know 10 years ago, it used to be like Taiwanese dramas, Korean dramas, and Japanese dramas, and those were like the most popular. But now really Thailand stepped up their game, and China, the mainland, is really stepping up their game, because before it used to be where you couldn't really access their shows, so it was really hard to get, you know, just to get access to them and then get those translated was so difficult. But over the years, especially in this last years, it's become a lot easier, and now they're even incorporating Taiwanese actors into mainland dramas, and sometimes I've even seen Korean actors in mainland dramas, which is really interesting. They're just kind of dubbed over, which is interesting. It sounds a little weird. They're not usually the best quality, those, but they usually have really good storylines when they have Korean actors. Some Korean actors speak Mandarin fluently, so they have no problem being able to, you know, do the shows, but whatever. So what I'm trying to say is that they're really good. They are, as they sound, dramas. So they're dramatic, they're over the top, the acting can be a little extreme sometimes, but I have seen it in the last couple of years where it's become a little more realistic. You also do have to get over the cultural difference. You have to learn these cultural differences. It's not common in Asian cultures to see people being like publicly affectionate towards each other, or it's also not uncommon to have like arranged marriages, or that you get engaged quickly after starting to date. It's very common, and that's some of the things that you're gonna have to get used to, that you may not you're like, why are they doing this? I was like, why haven't they kissed? They've been on like 10 dates. Why haven't they kissed? It's because it's all different. Just having that kind of like skinship relationship is not something that's normal. So they really are getting to know the person on a more intellectual level. Granted, there is some dramas that do talk about sex, but it's very taboo, it's very rare. Recently, in the last, I want to say like 2 years or so, I've seen some LGBTQ even, and that is huge, because it was unheard of to have LGBTQ before. The first drama that I ever heard even mentioned the idea of somebody being gay was Lee Min-ho played a fake gay man, but it wasn't even like he was really gay, he was just pretending to be gay. So it's just very taboo subject in Asian culture, and it's interesting to see how in the last couple of years it's starting to become more acceptable. Not to say that it's common like you're seeing in every single, you know, drama, but it's more normalized. And I'm okay with that because progress is progress, right? They have gay people in Asia too. They're just not represented, as everything has been very heterosexual. So I'm excited for those kinds of changes that we're seeing. The picture quality, let me just tell you, I don't think I've ever seen so much picture quality in any show. It has better picture quality than some American TV shows. It is so good. I think it has something to do with the fact that South Korea is supposed to be like the #1, what's it called? It's supposed to have the #1 internet in the entire world. Like their internet's supposed to be like amazeballs. I don't know. I've never been to South Korea, but I'm just saying, the quality is really good visually. They usually go above and beyond. I've seen them really expand their horizons when they're doing international shoots even. I've seen a lot of like European films for Asian dramas, not just from South Korea, but from Japan, Taiwan, and whatnot. Now, I do want to warn you, these shows are usually longer than what your typical hour-long show. Because usually an hour-long show is realistically more like 42 to 45 minutes long. These are an hour and 5 to an hour and 10-minute long shows. They're significantly longer, but they're so good. There's also a lot less episodes. And there's hardly ever a second season. It's very rare to get a second season in Asian drama. I can only think of a handful that have had them, like Hana Yoridango, the original from Japan, had a second and a movie, which was very rare, but I think it's just because they compartmentalize. I'm just gonna skip that word because I clearly can't say it. But because they just put into like smaller sections, but when they've remade in other countries that same story, it's usually just that one season. So it's very rare to have a second season and there's less episodes. Most South Korean dramas range anywhere between 16 to 24 episodes total, period, you're done. Mainland dramas can be significantly longer, but they're also a little bit shorter, and those can be anywhere between 20 to 40 episodes. Taiwanese dramas are in that 20 to 24 episode range as well. Japanese are usually the shortest, between 10 to 12 episodes, and they're also a little bit shorter, so they're more likely to have a second season. If any country's gonna have a second season, it's gonna be Japan. And like I said, recently I've really seen how they've expanded in that range of really making sure that they're hitting everything they gotta do in those small periods of time, because they only have a couple of weeks to do it. They really go from finish to end to the story, and because they know there's not gonna be no next season, you really get that full circle. The story ended, you got your closure, now you're good to move on to the next one. And sometimes if you go into a drama and you absolutely loved it, you go into like this withdrawal symptom where you're like, well, what do I watch now? What's gonna be as good as that? Because it's so hard, and you know that there's not gonna be a second season. But that's also something that I like, because it's like, I did it, I finished it, and I don't have to wait for the next season. I don't have to wait for more. It's over. It's done. I got my closure and I can keep it moving, you know? So I enjoy that quite a bit. Something else that I want to mention is that a lot of these really popular dramas get remade like crazy. And I quite literally mean like remake. It's like, what was that movie with Lady Gaga? The Star is Born, you know how like they remade it like 3 times? It's similar to that, but with different countries. So one of my favorite dramas ever is the South Korean version of Full House. Nothing to do with the Olsen twins, okay? This is completely different storyline, but the name of the show is called Full House. It's being remade in the mainland, it's being remade in Thailand, Vietnam, the Philippines, everywhere. I mentioned Boys Before Flowers, or Hanadori Yango, and that one has been remade twice by Japan, South Korea, Taiwan twice, the mainland I believe twice as well, the Philippines, Thailand. It has been remade like crazy because why not? There's always room for improvement. It's a Tunana Kiss, or Playful Mischievous Kiss. That's also what it's been called. It's been remade by Taiwan twice. Korea. I've seen it multiple times in the mainland. There was the Thailand version of that drama was straight up so good. I will say that Thailand has really impressed me, especially because they remade a lot of my favorite dramas, and they really fixed those like little mistakes in the plot. They fixed them and made it so much better and really elevated the storyline. I would like to see more people remake the Thailand version of some of these with some of my older characters. I don't know. Anyway, it's good, and I know exactly what's gonna happen because I've seen the exact same storyline like 4, 5, 6, 10 times, but it's still good, and everybody has a little differences to it, and I really enjoyed it. And every culture is a little bit different. For example, in Thailand, it's a little more common to talk about like sex and whatnot. So when they're remaking their stories, they're a little more adult than when you're watching a South Korean or a Japanese drama. It's not mentioned nearly as much. So it's interesting. You get to learn a lot of different cultures. I've definitely grown an ear for Asian languages, whereas if I hear something in the background, like I can definitely hear out which language it is, and I can tell you, I'm like, oh no, that's Mandarin, that's Cantonese, that's that's Korean, that's Thai. I can definitely hear out those differences, and I've learned a lot about different cultures and whatnot, which is actually what interested me about going to college, is that I could take a Korean class and I was able to learn Korean, which I've lost a lot of it because I don't practice it, because the only Korean person that I know is my big, who lives in South Korea, so like I see him all the time. But yeah, I even learned Korean so that I can not have to wait for subtitles. That's how much I love Asian dramas. But I do want to do my top 10 dramas. Like if you're a brand new person, you've never watched Asian dramas before, it's like, what should I be watching if you're interested, and where can I find these shows? So again, Viki.com, that's the main website you're going to want to look at, and I'm going to put my drama list .com so you can see what's going on and whatnot. You can read some synopsis and see if that's something you'd be interested in. I always say that whatever it is that you read in that synopsis, it's taken down a notch, and the storylines can be very interesting in the sense of some can be fantastical, whimsical, some can be more horror-like. There's a lot of different genres, more rom-coms. It's a little bit of everything. But there's almost always some sort of romance, and there's almost always some sort of wedding. I don't know why, it's just the way it happens, but it doesn't matter. I love them just the same. And I think that's it for now. I am going to film a top 10 Asian dramas, like I said, so that if you're interested in watching, then you know what to watch, where to get started, okay? Thank you. Have a good day.